Elijah and the 450 prophets of Baal having a contest on the top of the hill. Since you guys missed last week, I'll summarize a little bit what happened. Elijah challenged them, whoever's God is the real God will burn up the sacrifice. So the 450 prophets of Baal made an altar and they sacrificed a bull on it, and they cried all day long to try and get their God to send fire to burn up their sacrifice. And Elijah started teasing them, told them they needed to yell louder because he was asleep or on vacation or something. And that's why he wasn't answering. By the end of the day, Elijah told them that that's enough. Obviously, he's not going to answer. And so Elijah sacrificed a bull on an altar, and he poured water all over it, and he filled a ditch around the altar with water, and then he said, God, prove you're here, prove you're real. And fire fell from heaven and burned up the bull, and the wood that was under the bull, and the rocks the altar was made of, and the water in the trench around the altar. God meant it. And after that, it rained. And it hadn't rained in 3.5 years, but it rained after Elijah was done with his sacrifice. But what also happened was Elijah killed the 450 prophets of Baal. That's a pretty good feat by itself, that he killed the 450 prophets. This made Queen Jezebel very mad because those were her prophets, because she worshipped Baal. So she sent messengers to kill Elijah. So he ran away. He ran for quite a ways. He ended up in a cave. And in the cave, he prayed, God, I'm the only one left in all of Israel who worships you. Why have you done this to me? Why is it like this? I hate this. And a whirlwind came by, probably a tornado, came by the cave, and Elijah listened. Is that God answering me? But it went on by, and there was no word from God in it. Then a fire came by the cave and burned everything up. And he listened. And fires can be loud. And he listened. There was no God in the fire. Then there was an earthquake. So he listened. Is God's voice speaking to me through this earthquake? But there was no voice of God. Then Elijah heard a still, quiet voice. He said, Elijah, why are you here? And Elijah said, God, I'm the only one left who worships you. I'm the only one left who loves you. And they're trying to kill me, and everything is just, it's awful. And God said, in the still quiet voice, Elijah, I have, what was it, 5,000?
500, I think.
It was in the thousands. Anyway,
I don't remember.
I read it, but the way my head's doing, my head's not recalling little details. God said, I have thousands in Israel who have never bowed their knee to Baal. Thousands who worship me. So Elijah, one, no, you're not the only one left. There are many, many who love me and worship me. And you have a purpose. You have filled most of your purpose, and I've got a job for you to do. And he laid out what job he wanted him to do, which we'll get into later. But you're cool. You've been a faithful servant to me. Sometimes we all have that time where we feel alone, where we feel that no one else understands. But we can trust our God does understand, and we are not alone. He is taking care of us. And it's the very rare person that actually hears the voice of God with their ears. But we can all hear his voice in our heart. if we're quiet and we listen. We don't hear him when things are loud and we're jumping and we're running and we're yelling and there's a circus going on or whatever's happening. That's not when we hear God. We hear God when we're still and we're quiet and we tell him how wonderful he is and we thank him for his presence in our life. Then he speaks to us in our hearts. He is there, just like he was there for Elijah. He is there for us all the time. Let's sing a song. One, two, three, the devil's after me. 4, 5, 6, he's always throwing bricks. 7, 8, 9, he misses every time. Hallelujah, hallelujah, amen. 9, 8, 7, I'm on my way to heaven. 6, 5, 4, I'm almost at the door. 3, 2, 1, the victory is won. Hallelujah, hallelujah, amen.